Hi, thanks for joining us on Liotti's Lessons YouTube channel. We have a client here in Deanna's chair, and our first question for Deanna is, what is your client looking to do with her color, Deanna?
My client's looking to have a little contrast in her color. She has for years been going blonde on her base color and highlights over that. She's quite dark, so her blonde always tends to be very brassy. And we do quite a bit of highlights over to get rid of the brassiness, and we tone her. And years of that, she's starting to look like just all blonde. So we want to go back to putting in a darker base, something a little closer to her natural color, but her natural's quite dark. So we don't want to go that dark. We're going to do like a dark chocolate, a little richer than what she has, to add a little contrast with all this blonde. And she won't have to keep up with it quite as often because the root won't be this banding. It'll blend more with the low light color.
So what is your client's future desire for her color? To just simply highlight only? What is she moving towards?
She's looking at not doing a double process anymore. She wants to stay away from the double process. And we want to go back to just what we did years ago of just highlighting her hair.
And what strategy do you have in place for her color?
What we're going to do is we hardly ever do the back of her hair, as you could see. So what we're going to do is we're going to section her hair and we're going to put the base color completely in the back. We're going to pull this all the way through. She's still going to be quite blonde when the blonde lays over it, but then we don't have to worry about constantly touching up this back and her splitting and having 5 different colors back here. So we're going to put her base color in the back, and then we're just going to do highlights and lowlights through the top and the sides of her head.
Now, what would you decide the contrast would be called what? I've heard some wonderful comments about a new color concept you've created. Can
Yes.
you share that with us?
Yes, I like to call this white chocolate, dark chocolate, because we're going to go with such a deep dark base, and she wants to keep that really pale platinum blonde look. So I call that white chocolate against the dark base would be the dark chocolate.
2 of Deanna's coloring process. Deanna, what have you mixed here, and what is the plan?
Okay, what I've mixed here is I have the base color, which is the dark chocolate, and I have the highlight color here, which is the white chocolate, and I have added Olaplex because she's so over processed and I want to save her hair, especially with the bleach. And I used a 30 volume because the Olaplex drops it down to a 20. And the reason I'm using a 20, I wanted it at a 20 volume, is because it needs to sit longer for the base color to take. And the highlights are going to sit on her hair longer than I normally would put them on her hair. So I want the lowest volume possible. I also add color balance corrector drops to my bleach, which helps take the brassiness out.
All right, Deanna, we've entered into phase 3 of the color. Just bring us to where you are now and where you're going, please.
Okay, so what I did was, under here is the dark chocolate base. I covered it with the foil so that any hair touching it obviously is not going to get contaminated. And now we're going to start in this section up here, and I'm going to lay in slices, and I'm going to do 2 slices back to back. And the reason why I'm going to do 2 back to back is because you don't want a thick slice of bleach. You want to do a thin layer, but I want afterwards it to look thick. So I'm going to do 2 bleach, 2 white chocolate, 2 dark chocolate, and I'm going to continue that all the way through.
All right, Deanna, we've just entered into phase 4 of the processing time. What's in store for us?
Redo that.
We've just entered phase 4, which is the processing time. And Deanna, what are your expectations?
Well, my expectations are for everything to come out gorgeous. But what's going to happen here is we just finished putting in our last foil. The middle part has been on for about an hour. So we don't want to leave this on too much longer. I'm going to keep it 20 minutes and check it. It has to stay at least 20 more minutes for the low light to have taken. I'm going to peek at the highlights and see what they're doing. This is the last part that I put in. If in 20 minutes this is not ready, I will wash everything else out because this is ready to go, and leave this on for a few more minutes and then rinse this.
All right, Deanna, be interested to see your evaluation of the processing so far. Tell us where you are.
Okay, so now this was the last section we had put on. This section has already sat on for an hour. This had to stay at least 20 minutes so the low lights could take, and hopefully the high.
All right, Deanna, we're at the evaluation point of the process. Where does the color stand as of this point?
Okay, so all of this has been on for an hour. This was the last section I put on. We let this sit for 20 minutes. I needed to sit for at least that long for the low lights to take, and hopefully the highlights as well. So we're gonna check a highlighted section now because the low lights took, and let's see where we're at. So we're good. There's no orange. It came up nicely. So we're ready to take all the foils out, and we're gonna rinse her. We are not gonna shampoo her because we put Olaplex in. So we have to do the second step of the Olaplex, and that requires no shampooing or conditioning at this moment. Just rinsing very well, drying, and second step of Olaplex. Not blow drying, just towel drying.
We've reached the final phase of your white chocolate, dark chocolate color process. How do you feel about we are at the completion of the coloring process. Deanna, how do you feel about the results?
I love it. Exactly what I wanted. We've got the white chocolate and the dark chocolate together, and once it's dry, you'll really be able to tell. Okay, so here is the finished product of the white chocolate, dark chocolate, where you can see clearly up here. We went chunkier. You can go thinner if you want. I put, I was gonna do 2 blondes and 2 browns back to back, but so here you see the finished product of the white chocolate, dark chocolate. And here you could really tell up front. And this is where we did the slicing. And we did the slicing, and I was originally gonna put 2 white chocolate, 2 dark chocolate panels back to back, but instead I did 3 white chocolate and 2 dark. I wanted a little bit more blonde. And here you could see how we did the back just all dark. But as it lays over, she does have a nice overall look of blonde. So she's not dark. She did not want to be dark. She did want to keep a lot of blonde. And we managed to do that. And at the same time, we won't have to do a double process anymore. Now we could just touch up her blonde as it comes in. And if we feel when her natural base color comes out, we like the chocolate, the dark chocolate better, we could just do some low light panels right on the top.